So in today's lesson, I'm going to teach you some very simple and practical steps to help you contribute positively to conversations, speak more naturally, more confidently, and just have more interesting conversations overall about any topic in English. So let's get started. Before we jump into the lesson, I want to remind you about a free resource that I have created for you, an ebook called English Conversations Made Simple. Now, I wrote this ebook specifically to help you with your English conversation skills. It's totally free and you can get your copy by clicking the link just below the lesson. So I've broken down today's lesson into 3 simple steps that you can use to approach any conversation. Step 1 is to brainstorm. Step 2, think of questions. And step 3, share opinions and experiences. Okay, these are the 3 steps we're going to walk through in today's lesson. Let's get started with step 1, which is brainstorm. So of course, when we are in the middle of a conversation, we do not have time to stop and make notes and write down our ideas. Absolutely not. This will interrupt the flow and the rhythm of the conversation. However, if you can learn to train yourself to automatically brainstorm about any new topic that's introduced into a conversation, this is such a powerful skill to have. And I promise you, you can improve this skill with practice. So anytime a new topic is introduced or comes up in a conversation, ask yourself these questions. What do I know about this topic? Did I learn about this topic in school? Have I heard anyone else talking about this topic recently? Have I watched, read, or listened to anything about this topic? Have I seen this topic on the news, on TV, or in social media? Now, this is a great starting point. If you very quickly approach the topic from all angles, I promise you, 9 times out of 10, you will be able to think of something related to the topic, even if you're not an expert. Now, our brains are very, very powerful. So even if we have encountered a topic just 1 or 2 times, we can still form an opinion enough to carry a conversation. We don't have to be experts on every single topic, all right? Now, I'm gonna show you what I mean by this by giving some examples. All right, so let's look at the example of sports. Imagine that the topic of sports comes up in a conversation. And I myself am not the biggest sports fan. I don't play sports. I don't really watch any sports, but I need to brainstorm. So I need to go through the list of questions and ask myself, what do I know about this topic? So I can think about the sports I played in school as a kid, different types of sports that I know, sports in Dubai, where I live now, compared to sports in Canada. I can think about the sports teams in Toronto, where I am from. I can think about major sporting events like the Olympics or the World Cup. So I don't have to be an expert on sports to brainstorm and to be able to think about points I can bring up on this topic. All right, on to step 2. Step 2 is to think of questions. Now, you want to think of interesting, relevant, and open-ended questions that you can ask the other person or that you can ask the group related to the topic that you are talking about. So let's look at some examples, again, using the topics of sports and fashion. So if the other person or the group is talking about sports, you can ask them about their favorite sports, if they have ever seen their favorite team play, if they've been to a sports game, if they are on any teams right now. If they have children, you can ask whether their children play any sports or they're enrolled in any teams. You can talk about sports news or recent sporting events, maybe that you've seen online. And one great tip is to talk about recent news or a recent event if you have some knowledge of that, of course. And our second example, if the other person or if the group is discussing fashion, of course, you can ask them what their style is, what trends they like, if they follow fashion trends, what shops they like, what brands they like, how their fashion sense has changed over time. You can ask them if they prefer big brands or branded clothing. And of course, as the conversation evolves, you're going to need to adjust your questions and ask follow-up questions, all right? But initially, when you're brainstorming and when you're thinking of questions, you just want to think of things that will get the conversation started. These questions are a starting point for you, and as you know, the conversation will evolve. It is back and forth, or if you're in a group discussion, of course, you're going to have input and questions and comments from other people. So just keep that in mind. You don't have to come up with a list of a million questions, but just try to think of 2 to 3 solid, relevant, interesting, and open-ended questions just to get you started. And finally, step 3 is to share opinions and experiences. Now, sharing your opinions and sharing your experiences is a huge part of the culture of speaking English. It actually comes naturally to us. We share our opinions, we share our experiences, we talk about our experiences openly, even when people don't necessarily ask. So whenever we're discussing any topic, we automatically share our opinion without being asked. Now, I know that this is not the norm in every single culture, so you might not be used to it, but it is something to keep in mind, especially if you are speaking to English speakers. It is natural, it is common, it is totally acceptable and expected for you to share your opinion and to share your experiences. And you can do this by giving details, reasons, or examples for whatever you're saying, or by answering any of these questions: who, what, where, when, or why. Okay, now you don't have to give all of these details. I'm just giving you some options. You can choose if you want to give a reason, if you want to give an example, or if you want to answer one of the 5 W's. That is totally up to you. So let's look at an example of how this works in a conversation. Here's the scenario. Imagine that I am having a conversation with a friend or a group of friends. We're talking about fashion, we're talking about brands, and the topic of designer brands comes up. And I want to share my opinion. And my opinion is that designer brands are a waste of money, all right? So I'm going to use some of the 5 W's to make my opinion stronger and to give some more details, all right? So I'm going to choose what, who, and where, okay? So the what will be designer brands are a waste of money. That's what I think, okay? For who? For everyone, especially for younger people. And where? In Western countries and in Western culture. So here I'm going to talk about my own culture and my own country because, of course, I cannot speak for the whole world. I'm sharing my own personal experiences. So here's what I could say to develop my answer. Instead of just saying designer brands are a waste of money, it's a very short answer. I want to, again, engage in the conversation. So using these 3 W's, here is what I can say instead. Honestly, I feel like designer brands aren't worth the money. First of all, so many big name brands create trends that go out of style within a few months. And people end up paying so much for something that they'll only wear for a short time. I've also seen so many teenagers wasting their money on designer brands, especially in Western countries. So you can rewind a little bit, pause, and reread the answer if you need to. But again, I've just followed these 3 very simple steps to come up with this opinion on a topic that I'm not really an expert on. I'm just sharing my opinions, my observation, and my own personal experiences. So those are the 3 steps you can follow to have amazing conversations in English on literally any topic. Of course, it takes a little bit of practice, but remember the 3 steps are to brainstorm, to think of questions, and then to share your opinions and experiences by giving reasons, examples, details, or answering any of the 5 W's: who, what, where, when, or why. Okay, now a great place to start is by choosing a different topic every single day and brainstorming what you can ask, what you can talk about, what you can say. And another tip to keep in mind, remember it's always great to stay up to date with current news, current events, because those are always a really great conversation topic and a great way to kind of keep your conversations going naturally. So don't forget to grab your free ebook, English Conversations Made Simple. Again, the link is just below the lesson. If you have any questions on the topic, please do leave them down below. I would love to answer them for you, and share your experiences with having English conversations. Is it something you struggle with? Is it something you enjoy? Do you get nervous? And sharing your experiences is always helpful for the community here as well. So thanks so much for watching and for learning with me today. If you enjoyed the lesson, give it a thumbs up, subscribe for a new lesson every single week, and I'll see you very soon in the next one.